Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Total Podcast with me, your host, Phil Scott. Today, my guest she's a healer, she's a life coach, and I'm looking so forward to this interview. Her name is Nina Masic. So, Nina, thank you so very much for doing the podcast today. I truly appreciate it, and thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for pronouncing correctly my last name. I'm honored.
Well, you're very welcome. Sometimes I do get names wrong, so that's why I always try to ask ahead of time. So I'll make sure. So it's Nina Masic.
Yeah.
So I will remember that, Nina.
Perfecto. Yeah.
All right. So first of all, Nina, tell me about your background. Where were you born? What was your family life like? Where did you go to high school and college, and what academic subjects did you study?
So where I was born in Sarajevo, actually. That is former Yugoslavia, and now it's called Bosnia, as I recall. So I traveled with my parents actually as of being a infant, toddler, how do you say that? We traveled the world actually for my father's work. So I grew up in mostly all over the world, but the base was always Netherlands. So currently I am in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, and what credentials do I have? So I finished actually risk management. For years I was PA to a CEO of a large company, and as of 2010, 2012, it didn't seem right to me, kind of like to stay in the corporate world,
right?
Because my innate ability. So I'm born intuitive healer, and throughout the years, I was always kind of like a wise one, kind of like saying things that people cannot place or cannot understand. Well, it always comes true, kind of like hours later, days later, maybe weeks later, or months. So to fit in, kind of like in the society, I try to put a lid on my abilities,
right.
But it kind of like if you put lid on, kind of like around 25th year, mid-20s, late 30s, that I kind of like wanted to belong somewhere in the society and not being seen kind of like, oh, there's the weirdo again. And, but to be honest with you, it never left me. It grew even stronger. I think it has to do with me traveling with my parents most of the time. And kind of like living in my own world, going to families and talking about my travels. To them is kind of like a foreign country. It was in the late 70s that we started traveling. So traveling wasn't that much on a bucket list of every person. So I think I cultivated that in my youth. And it only grew. But if I may say one thing, actually, as of kind of like mid-20s, late 30s, as I was trying to put a lid on it, it kind of like played with me a little. So if I didn't wanted to hear messages because I was busy with other things, or just not being open to kind of like communication, I would have people on the street, total strangers, approach me and deliver the message, kind of like, oh, you are such and such, and you should do this and this. And 5 seconds later, after they delivered message, they're kind of like, who are you? Why am I here? Why am I talking to you?
Interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was. But first time when it happened, I was kind of like, I was thrown back, kind of like, what? But they're speaking truth, you know?
So how young do you think you were when you realized that you had these abilities?
Early teens, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Kind of like kindergarten kind of thing.
Hmm.
Maybe earlier.
That's fascinating. And when you first
Yeah,
realized
I
that
would
you
say
had,
that.
when you first
Kind of like early teens.
Mhm. And when you first realized you had these abilities, how did that make you feel from the beginning? What was your own reaction to that?
Yeah, it's kind of like unsettling, you know, kind of like, oh, no, it cannot be true, you know, kind of like, oh, I will check for myself, you know, and it is true. It's kind of like doubting yourself.
Right. Wow. Okay, so now I think you kind of little bit you kind of answered this. What motivated you and inspired you to become a healer and a life coach? You kind of answered that. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Sure. 2010, 2012, there was a large reorganization within the community or society where that I was living in the Netherlands, and I thought kind of like, okay, so most people are losing their jobs. I can stay on a job and go through it, or I can take an early retirement and see what happens next. So 2 years later, from 2010 2012, I was bored to my of so much free time on my hands, and I was thinking kind of like, okay, should I go back to the corporate world or should I do something with my spiritual? But I wasn't sure, to be honest with you. Kind of like, well, yeah, I was born with it, so kind of like making business of it. I don't know. I wasn't sure, but I stayed with a lesser idea, kind of like to see it through, with my healing abilities and what would happen. So as I was healing more and more people, kind of like in the beginning it was one or two, three in a week. Later on, it was kind of like one, two, three in the morning, and two, four, five, six in the afternoon. You know, so it grew. But as I was devoting my time and healing to people, actually to help them heal on their journey, I also recognized actually that that more and more abilities were opening to me. So as of I'm born into the family of two powerful psychics, both my mother and father. They didn't do anything with it.
Hmm.
My grandparents didn't do anything with it. So I felt kind of like in my late teens, it kind of like poured everything poured into me, and I had to kind of like find out for myself what it is, educate myself, go through it. I didn't have anybody kind of like to walk me through things.
Well, you know what? I think you kind of draw out a bigger life lesson from this too. And it to me, it seems like you get a lot of joy from doing what you do. And I
Absolutely.
and I think a lot of people can learn a lesson from this. Like if you can do something that makes you very unhappy work and career wise, or you can do something that you love doing that brings you joy and that helps other people. And I think that's a bigger life lesson that other people can learn from. Do things that can make you joyous and happy and that can bring joy to other people. I think that's something that a lot of people can learn from. And that's been kind of my mantra, especially in recent years. You can do you can do a job that you don't like and you're miserable and it's just bringing you stress and not a lot of joy at all, or you can try to do something that makes you happy on the inside but can bring joy to other people as well.
As long as you share your joy and multiplies, actually,
Yes,
the more you get in return.
absolutely, I agree. Now, I wanted to ask you, what is your main philosophy and goals as a healer and also as a life coach?
Um, I did life coaching actually with Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is kind of like the guru
Yeah,
of
he's a
life
big deal.
coaching. Yeah, yeah, in 2000. But I have different kind of abilities, kind of like I do past life regression. I do group healings. But my main thing actually that I want to talk about and what I want to get across to people is my intuitive healing. So that part I'm passionate about. The other stuff I'm also passionate about, but my main focus is intuitive healing.
All right. Okay. Well, let's talk about that some then. Tell us about your intuitive healing because it seems very fascinating.
Well, it is. For example, intuitive healing, it's not kind of like only to remove blocks or do shadow work with people, kind of like the stuff that they suppressed during their lifetime. It goes even further than that. It goes into the past lifetimes, their past lifetimes, but also the lineage, their family lineage. So sometimes people are struck with something, or they call it a curse, kind of like family curse or ancestor curse and something like that. But it goes actually from your ancestors to if they don't how do you say that, if they don't work through certain stuff in their lives, it will pass on to the next one in the family
Wow.
actually when they die.
Wow, that's fascinating. And so I take it that you probably work with both men and women.
Yes.
And what are generally the age range of the clients that you work with?
I always say I work with everybody who wants to be healed, but usually people come to me. The age is always kind of like mid 30s, and then plus 65 plus.
What is the oldest person you've worked with in that, and what in terms of what was their outcome, and were they just totally relieved that they went through the process with you, and what was that like?
Oldest person, I think it was 65 plus. The person lives in India. Let me see. He suffered a stroke, not a heart attack, but stroke. He
Mhm.
was paralyzed left side from the top of the head to the toes.
Oh,
So
wow.
entire left side was paralyzed. But the main thing was the person could not speak any English. So we were kind of like texting back and forward. I was texting him, he was translating for himself, and then he was translating what he wanted to say to me, and sending to me. But when I was reading his English, it was kind of like okay. So I don't think English is his first language, kind of like first, second, or third.
Mhm.
But that person, we had two sessions weekly for approximately 3 to 6 months. Now the person is out of bed. Is not in the hospital. Is out of bed. He regains strength for 85% in his left side,
Wow,
and he's back to work full time.
that's
And that
amazing.
yeah, that happened actually 3 years ago, I think. Yeah, that pretty much amazing. Yes.
Okay, now I wanted to ask you too. This you just brought up language. How many languages do you speak?
One point in time, I spoke 26 languages,
Wow.
but because everybody is kind of like leaning toward English, that's why I stay with it. So if you listen closely to what I'm saying to you, you can hear some words actually in German, some words in Dutch, some words in Bosnian, some words in French. So I kind of like made a language for myself, kind of like made a minestrone soup or something.
Now, what was it easy for you to learn these different languages, or for you, what was the easiest language other than your native language to speak? What has been the easiest one for you to pick up out of all of those?
I think English is still the easiest language to pick up for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's amazing. Wow, I wish I could speak that. I can speak English, of course, and a little bit of Spanish.
Little bit of Spanish.
A little
Okay.
bit of Spanish. It's funny because
I can speak Spanish. I can order at least tacos or burritos at a restaurant. So I speak Spanish.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow, because I took it in junior high school, and then I took it in college. I regret not taking it in high school, but I took it again in college. But then my problem was I didn't use it for a long time, which is ironic because now I work with a lot of Spanish speaking students. They also speak English, of course, but my Spanish is so rusty, I've forgotten a lot of it. So one of these days I'll take another Spanish class and I'll refresh my memory and stuff. And I've always wanted to learn French. I've always been fascinated with French. It's such a beautiful language.
The language of love.
Yes, and it's a beautiful language to me too. I think that's one that I would like to learn one day too. Yeah. Now, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the most important questions that are asked of you by your clients?
Usually when client comes to me and says kind of like, okay, I have pain, for example, shoulder. Mm-hmm. And when and they say, can you heal my pain in the shoulder, and how long is it going to take? Usually session is 50 minutes.
Right.
And but people do not understand actually that you accumulate stuff in throughout your lifetime, mm-hmm. but it doesn't store in one place, kind of like your belly or your brain or whatever. It stores all over the place actually on your body. So when they come to me kind of like and saying, can you heal my shoulder, or I have tummy aches or pelvis pain or something like that, I take that into consideration. But when I start kind of like tuning into their energy and start healing them, all of a sudden I see kind of, okay, but that shoulder that they are kind of like complaining about, that is painful to them, it's not pain, is not there. So their pain is actually in the around the heart and around the knee.
Oh, and wow.
Because of so much suppressing and filing, as I usually say, kind of like filing things, mm-hmm. All of a sudden the pain has to come out somewhere. So in their case is the shoulder. People usually expect the pain to go away kind of like within one session. There are cases that when people are coming to me and the pain is gone within one session. But hear this: we, for example, me, I'm healing myself 24/7. So I'm kind of like going through my energy field and looking for blockages, kind of like, okay, where are the blockages now? You know, kind of like hide and seek. Right. And what I understand from that is actually we are never, we can't ever stop healing ourselves, because it's not one lifetime that we are living. We have lived so many lifetimes. But also, as I said earlier, we inherit actually things from our ancestors, from our parents, from our grandparents, and from the society actually, or the neighbors that you grew up with.
Now, how
It's
many?
it's elaborate answer, but did I give you a satisfying answer?
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
You
thank
did.
you.
You're welcome. And I wanted to ask you now, you were saying that one session usually isn't enough for people. How many sessions do you suggest that people go through to get the best benefit from your services?
Well, first of all, we have a orientation session. So people come to me and say, kind of like, okay, this is what I would like to work on. They have to always fill out a form.
Right.
Why they are coming to me? Did they ever had sessions before? What do they understand from it? So we go through that. The orientation session is also 50 minutes, and it's kind of like there comes a coaching part in that orientation session. So it's kind of like, okay, what do you want to accomplish actually coming to me for a healing? Is it only to kind of like get rid of the healing in your shoulder? I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that, but I'm giving an example.
Right.
And is it only that you want to get rid of the pain, or do you want to see what else comes up in the session? I give them always a choice.
Okay. Now, I wanted to ask you too. Is this something that you can do virtually? Like, how many are you helping people in other countries as well?
As I mentioned before, the person in India that suffered from a stroke, left side crown, left side down.
Right.
So he is Indian, and he lives in India. Yes. So the sessions went on a Zoom.
Okay. And about how many different countries are you helping people in across the world?
I only don't have clients in North and South Pole. So
Wow.
all over the place.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So your reach is wide and far.
So because North and South Pole do not have the Wi-Fi yet.
Yes. That's amazing. That's amazing that you're able to help people all over the world. That's awesome that you're able to do that.
I compliment Zoom for the ability to for giving me ability to do that. Yes.
Now, finally, I wanted to ask you, what is for you the most fulfilling thing about doing what you do? What makes you the most happiest about doing what you do?
The healing actually doesn't go only back and heals the pain, heals the suffering, but also it goes forward. We can also go through our goals in life and what we want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like it's kind of like not one thing, but it's enormous, to be honest with you. As I go through blockages in my life, when I want to accomplish something, I set out a goal and I write down everything, and I meditate on that, kind of like, okay, so if I want to achieve that goal, what blockages do I have right now to kind of like go forward with that toward that goal? And sometimes a huge blockage comes up, and sometimes it's kind of like okay, it needs time kind of like to set a line for a timeline for it, because some huge goals cannot be achieved kind of like yesterday or tomorrow. And what I want to say actually is I am blessed, not only that I can heal, but also to help people accomplish their goals.
That's awesome. Well said too. I like that. Thank you. Well, I think, oh, one more thing I wanted to ask you. I don't want to forget this. tell us your website or social media links where people can connect with you and contact you.
So on Instagram, people can find me on Nina of NL. Nina of NL. On Facebook is Nina Masic, as you can see the screen name, healer. So on Facebook and my webpage, I did send you links. I hope that you
and
that
I'll put that in the show notes too.
Yes, but my website is kind of like a long one, and I will try actually to convey that. So it's Nina dot Kartra, KARTRA.com/page// intuitive healing sessions.
And I will make sure I put those links in the show notes as well. So, wow, this has been so fascinating. Thank you so much, Nina. And a big thank you to Brooke Young out there too. She's just an amazing person.
She is. Yeah.
She is indeed. So thank you, Brooke, out there. And thank you, Nina Masic. Thank you so very much for doing the show. I think you're like 9 hours ahead of me right now.
Yeah, I'm 9 hours ahead of Pacific, yes.
Yeah. So I appreciate you doing it. And this was pretty a quick turnaround for us to do this too. So this is awesome. I'm glad you were able to do it so soon.
Yeah.
So Nina, thank you so very much for doing the podcast today. It has been an honor to have you on, and hopefully we can talk again sometime in the future. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I look forward for the next invite.
Yeah. Oh, yes, indeed. Thank you, Nina. All right, everybody. So that is the end of this episode of the Total Podcast with me, your host, Phil Scott. Everyone stay safe, take care of one another, and we will talk again soon.